Good morning, Trinidad, and welcome to another episode of Pep Talks in the Morning. My name is Felicia Holder, your host of the show on a Tuesday and Thursday. Today is March the 12th, Thursday, March the 12th, actually, and I am joined in studio by none other than Akil Kams, who is my co host today, as well as the head of the North Hub. Good morning, Akil.
Morning, Felicia. Morning, Trinidad and Tobago.
I just noticed that you are in your full pep gear this morning.
Yeah.
No stunts this morning.
Feeling orange today.
No hazmat suits and all
I
of that
was
today.
coming in full agriculture gear, but
A full agriculture gear. This morning we were supposed to have a technocrat, a subject matter expert in the field of agriculture to talk agriculture, as has been the topic for the past couple of weeks. And not just talk agriculture, but to talk PEP Farms, which is an initiative out of the Progressive Empowerment Party, one that we hope, we actually not hope, we are going to start and would take us all the way into office. But before we get into agriculture, I want to talk about breaking news story of the morning, one that personally hurt my heart, but is very much required with what is happening right now in the world. Last night, 5 hours ago to be exact, while I was getting ready to sleep, the Progressive Empowerment Party released through our political leader, put out a public release that we will be postponing our launch of candidates, which was carded for March the 21st. That would have been next week, Saturday, March the 21st. Some preparations went into this, but in light of the coronavirus, and I'm going to read the public release here for those who have not yet heard, this will be a breaking news story because it happened in the wee hours of the morning. Public release. In light of developments on the world stage and closer to home, out of an abundance of caution, the Progressive Empowerment Party has decided to postpone or meet the candidates meeting scheduled for March 21st at our headquarters on Stanmore Avenue until the threat of the virus is behind us. We believe that it would be irresponsible to ignore the realities that present themselves and would rather lose out on this opportunity so as to preserve and secure our members and guests from any risks that may develop as time goes by. As soon as the all clear is sounded, we would return with vigor to the mission with an accelerated plan for follow-up meetings. But in the meantime, the Progressive Empowerment Party intends to redirect all of its resources and assets to being a source of clear guidance and proper leadership as we prepare to weather whatever comes our way. Thank you, Philip Edward Alexander, political leader, Progressive Empowerment Party. There you have it. The official release posted 5 hours ago to Facebook. It will be emailed and WhatsApp to our entire membership list today, as well as any specially invited guests. But we have taken that decision out of an abundance, like you said, an abundance of caution.
Which in my view should have happened with respect to Carnival to some extent. But we're already here, so that bridge crossed.
I mean, we took the risk, and as of right now, we can't say whether that one confirmed case coming out of Canada, because there was a confirmed case in Canada that originated from Trinidad. We can't say whether that happened around the carnival period or not, and because of that, we can't now, because of that information. I mean, I don't believe in fake news and spreading panic unnecessarily, but we can now not say for certain whether there are other cases in Trinidad and Tobago.
And we should be taking this a lot more serious than a lot of people actually taking it. As you say, not to panic, but to get yourself educated along the lines of how to protect yourself, what to do, what not to do, right? I mean, this is going to affect on all levels.
Every single
All
level.
Yeah.
I would tell you, yesterday we had 2 meetings. The first meeting we held was literally gunning, planning, invitations were printed, 500 specially invited guests. Tomorrow, actually today, we were supposed to be delivering those first batch of invitations. And by the second meeting we held yesterday evening, we had taken the decision to postpone the meeting. Now, I was one of the person. I was the only person actually in that leadership meeting who was against the decision, coming from a perspective of we had done so much work already. We had laid the ground, we had laid the foundation, and I wasn't upset. I was just disappointed. I was thinking, maybe in a week's time, not much can happen in a week. But I took the advice and the precautions being advocated for by the rest of the leadership, and I agree. Trinidad and Tobago needs a clear voice, a clear leader right now, and we're not getting it through the government. I mean, the very fact that we have that case that was reported in Canada that originated from Trinidad is telling you that maybe we're not managing this as we should have.
You know what we're supposed to be hearing right now? We're supposed to be hearing about all the places that person may have been to, especially if it's like a public place and there are a lot of people.
Especially, yes.
Probably a meeting. Supposedly, our last meeting where we had full house here, that person was in here.
And that's the thing, we have not only cancelled this meeting, but we have also put a hold to all our big, large public gatherings. For those who know, every Saturday at 12 noon, we would meet here, invite the public. We would actually have a leadership and a party meeting that has been, again, deferred indefinitely as more warnings. As more, yeah, but I mean, this is what we have technology for, right? We have Zoom and Skype and Tango and even Facebook Messenger. Actually, WhatsApp has this technology that now allows you to communicate. Actually, that emergency meeting that we called yesterday was happening over social media, and that is, again, how we may need to operate right now. We have countries like Italy who have actually quarantined entire regions of their country. As the world moves away from, or at least the spotlight moves away from China to Italy, which is now the rate of spreading has increased exponentially in Italy, which, I mean, is concerning because Italy has a very large elderly population, which is why the recordings of deaths have been greater thus far. Now, for Trinidad and Tobago, again, we're not hearing a clear voice on this. And when I say a clear voice, this virus is now in 100 countries. That is almost basically, I believe, at least 60% of the world's in terms of geography and the world makeup and countries, that's almost 60% of the countries that we have right now in the world. 100 countries, I mean, some have fewer cases than some.
It's gonna reach everywhere basically, and we have to be prepared. And what, in my view, I don't know if the government is doing it silently, but they should be backtracking the movements of that this person, Canadian person.
Most and not just because he was suspected, or not was suspected, is confirmed to have the virus, but apparently this virus can transfer even though you're not showing any symptoms of it.
For the first the 14 days. You will be spreading, and you don't have an idea.
You could have spread the virus to other people.
So the protocol should be, upon getting that information, you start to work backwards. You get all the information from that person. Contact the person if the Canadian government hasn't gotten all the information already. I'm sure they probably did and sent it first, right? You find out, okay, where were you when? Who were you around, or even if you can't account for everybody around, at that point you put out a public notice. Anyone who was at, let's say, at a pan theater on so day, please contact us, right? This is how you control spread, right? Where people would know, they have no way of doing. And a lot of people will tell it, they still, okay, they might have a little cough, they might have a little fever. Nah, me again, I ain't coming here, God is a Trini. Right? Yes, thank God we have dodged a lot of bullets in the past, but that don't mean we must just say this one we're gonna dodge also, right? And I advise Trinidad, let's start to take this thing a little more seriously, because you're looking at its families, you're looking at your children. I mean, it could get ugly very fast, right? We can't play with it.
It can. And what I was reading is not what I was reading on the heels. Right before our breaking news, actually, and this would have impacted our decision as well to postpone the meeting. The World Health Organization has officially declared the coronavirus as a pandemic, which just simply means that a disease that has and will traverse the entire globe. And the number of cases has increased 13 times than it was, well, not that it was expected to, but it has increased 13-fold at very alarming levels. And concerning that, I believe that we here in Trinidad really need to pay attention. Now, I'm Facebook and social media, you get to see people's comments. Like I said, I was not for postponing the meeting. I felt that maybe we should have waited a little bit, but in the interest of extreme caution, I have to agree with my leadership's decision to go that route, because every day that we continued planning this meeting, it was costing money. I mean, like I said,
Could have been planning people dead too.
exactly. And so far, the response that we got, Al Jamil Muhammad said, "Good call, citizen safety is a much respect." Hinter Sandy said, "Thank you." Billy Pedro, "Good call, noted, citizen safety first. PEP 2020. All of this has, I mean, these are the comments, that the feedback that we're getting so far on the meeting, and I think people are appreciative of a party, or I will call it their pseudo government taking a clear direction in terms of leadership. And I'm bringing this up because, like I said, initially I was not for postponing this meeting, but I was actually reading the report from BBC released yesterday on the coronavirus, and places in Italy such as schools, hairdressing salons, restaurants that couldn't guarantee a 1 meter distance between yourself and your customers, they have been forced to close. And I'm thinking about here in Trinidad, where we like literally ducking and weaving, and we're like, yeah, God is a Trini. And I mean, we have gotten away from many things in the past, I would say. We have been very fortunate, but I don't think, the whole God is a Trini and, banking on the fortunes of past is what is needed right now to prevent and safeguard. Somebody always told me prevention is better than cure.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the same. Prevention is better than cure, and in this case, there is no cure for the coronavirus, at least not as yet. I also saw that there were laboratories offering corona testing in Trinidad, which has been floating around and debunked as fake news. There is no approved private facility that can test for coronavirus. So don't get caught with that, people.
Governments are gonna, sadly to say, they're gonna hold back on releasing the fact that it's here. For one reason, the economic aspect of it, in terms of the businesses gonna lose out. Sales gonna drop, right? Parties, people gonna reduce linemen, and these smart people.
Yeah, right? I am not going. I immediately thought about all these clubs, residence, and pub house, and all these places where people go on a weekend to lime and drink and jam. And I'm like, I hope people getting accustomed to liming home in their house and having little yard parties and stuff. When I say yard parties, with no more than 4 and 5 people.
That's still.
And even that still. Even
all you
that
need is
still.
one, no?
All you need is one. Now, again, in terms of information, the people most likely to be impacted by this are people with autoimmune deficiency diseases, people with diabetes, the elderly, if your immune system is impacted, babies whose immune systems haven't fully developed. So if you're a healthy person, the chances of you overcoming the virus it's good. But if you look at the population of Trinidad and Tobago, we have a very high population of unhealthy
Mm-hmm.
people. Diabetes is one of the highest in the world. Um, Heart disease, people, the elderly population, especially, they are at risk, and I think we need to consider that people when, I mean, we can't be living on the edge, we can't be saying it's not going to impact us. We don't want to wait until something bad happens to want to take precautionary measures. And that is what the World Health Organization has actually been saying. It's not a responsibility, it's not up to them. They have put all the information out into the public space. It is there, it is available. Just Google coronavirus and preventative measures. You would find all the ways that you can prevent yourself from being impacted. I mean, countries are imposing stricter bans by the day, travel restrictions to get into the US now, and it's going to get worse as countries seek to curtail the spread of this virus. Here in Trinidad, like I say, we need to be very careful, very cautious, and while I don't look to them for anything else, I'm really looking to the government of Trinidad and Tobago to see what is their response based on this official release as of yesterday from the World Health Organization.
Now, it has certain good things about this virus in the sense of one of the things, the virus, when it falls on a fabric, well, this is not a good thing. Right? Which is a good thing,
You
yeah.
can reach the good stuff.
Right? This UNICEF put this out actually. Coronavirus, when it falls on a fabric, remains 9 hours. So washing clothes or being exposed to the sun for more than 2 hours meets the purpose of killing it. Right? So we have a kind of advantage because of our
Or a
climate.
tropical climate.
And
yeah.
especially right now, rain not falling, and the sun just happens to be extremely hot,
Hot.
these days.
Yes.
So that is going to be to
To our advantage.
yes. I don't know the washing clothes part. That might be a little difficult, seeing that Wasa. Anyway, let's not go there. Coronavirus, when it falls on metal surfaces, will live 12 hours. So washing hands with soap and water is enough. Again, Wasa. Gargle with warm and salt water kills the tonsils germs and prevents them from leaking into the lungs. The virus does not settle in air but is grounded, so it is not transmitted by air. As far as I understand, it's the particles so big that the heavy they drop, the virus itself will drop, and that's why the mask will work too. The mask kind has a great effect. If the virus is exposed to temperature of 26 to 27 degrees, it will be killed. As it does not live in hot regions, also drinking hot water and sun exposure will do the trick, and staying away from ice cream and cold foods is advised.
What? Where did that one come from? Staying away from ice cream? What? I mean, I'm not a big ice cream eater, but for all the people who like the Häagen-Dazs and the Cold Stone and the Flavorite,
No.
they have to stay away? What?
Well, UNICEF putting a damper on some of that. Coronavirus
Really?
lives on the hands for 10 minutes. So putting an alcohol sterilizer in your pocket meets the purpose of prevention. Right? I think that's everything there. Yeah, so these things will help you understand. Okay, wait, one more thing. The coronavirus is large in size, where the cell diameter is 400 to 500 micro, and for this reason, any mask prevents its entry. Right, so there's some things to keep you updated along those lines.
That's
So,
some confusing information though, because I was reading that the mask don't prevent the virus. It just prevents you from touching your nose and your mouth, which is how the virus spreads.
well, look at it this way: the mask will stop it, right? But if you take your hand, you get on your hand, and then you push your hand under the mask.
Yeah.
Or at least the mask will be there, so unconsciously you may come to touch your nose or your mouth and hit the mask and then realize, oh shucks. So the mask will kind of give you a guard.
I was actually, someone was actually telling me that the number one place to contract or the number one medium to contract a common cold is actually through your air. That we touch our air more than we realize, yeah. So should we be wearing earplugs too? I'm not sure. Really don't know. But again, the information is out there, people. It's in the public space. That was from where? UNICEF?
Yeah, UNICEF put out that sometime ago.
UNICEF put out that information. The World Health Organization has put out information. You can check the BBC, CNN, any of those news reports for the latest updates on the virus. I would say keep checking TV6 and CNC3, but they are likely to catch up with this post it's spreading. But let's hope that we have more proactivity happening, and I really hope that should there really be a confirmed case in this country that is not covered up, because you get the sense that a lot of things in here is hush hush. Let's put him in quarantine, keep him covered up. I mean, I'm not putting my head on a block for this, but
let's see, at some points in life, at some stage in life, people take missteps. I hope this is not one the government taking.
I really hope so. And even us as citizens, we, like I said earlier, and will keep repeating, we have to take our precautions as well. Like I said early in the program Breaking News, the Progressive Empowerment Party, we have decided to postpone our presentation of general election candidates.
People first, politics after.
People first, politics after. We are going to set the example. While we have no assurity or no concrete information of there being any confirmed cases, things on a global scale right now are heating up, and we would like to take an abundance of caution. We are doing this with you in mind, because trust me, I did not want to do this, and it's really unfortunate that we have to be here today. But until we hear what's happening on a global scale, what's happening here regionally, what's happening here locally, we are putting your safety first.
Correct.
Yeah. So, Akil, what else is in the news today?
What else? Well, we had a look to the future now in terms of if things get really bad, we need to eat, we need to survive.
We need to eat and we need to survive.
Yeah, exactly.
It is 6:25. You want to take a break and come back into that, or you want to dive into it now?
No, we can take a break, and when we come back, how are we going to live through this?
How are we going to live through what is on our radar right now? We'll be back.
Public health in Trinidad and Tobago is a catastrophe. It is a fiasco. It is the 6th and 7th circles of hell. Some people say public health in Trinidad is sickening. The Prime Minister agrees. Judging by his latest decision, 4.5 years later, as Prime Minister, the man who spent upwards of $25 billion on public health in this country has chosen once again to seek his own health care in other jurisdictions. Public health in Trinidad and Tobago has never worked to the benefit of the public under no government at no time. We, the people of Trinidad and Tobago, are spending money we do not have, building hospitals we do not need, in a public health system that does not work. The Progressive Empowerment Party suggests that in place of the fiasco that exists as our public health system, that we replace it all with 41 public health centers, one for each constituency, operated 24/7, managed by nurse practitioners with on-call doctors capable of treating dental, optical, and medical emergencies, to function as 41 emergency rooms in this country, equipped even for minor stabilization surgeries, and with dedicated ambulance service. This would function far better than the chaos of the centralized public health system that does not work. How it should work, how it works in foreign jurisdictions. A call to a call center should be answered by a trained operator who knows how to ask proper questions so as to guide paramedics listening in on the line as to what your condition might be so that they can prepare to treat with you when they arrive. The call to that call center that identifies your location plugs in GPS coordinates that guides the ambulance directly to you so they don't have to call asking for further directions looking for landmarks. A call to a call center that guides the ambulance to your house in under 10 minutes, the magic time that science suggests required to save patients in emergencies such as heart attack, stroke, and other massive failure. The paramedic operated ambulance is stocked and equipped with everything to treat with just about every emergency. But in specialized cases, there are special kits that they could add in quick time. And that is why the questions that a trained operator asking would advise them and guide them so that when they come to you, your treatment begins during transportation. The paramedics then take full responsibility for you and initiate conversation with the closest emergency room where they're taking you. The doctor on call or the person in charge would then exchange information with the paramedics so as to further guide the treatment that is being done while you're being transported to the emergency room, and the emergency room would be preparing to receive you. Arriving at the hospital, the paramedics are greeted by the emergency room team who takes full control of you, guides you into the treatment room, puts you onto a bed, releases the stretcher, and releases the paramedics and the ambulance. In a first world country, at that point, the emergency room staff are responsible for you, and they treat and discharge you, or they treat and admit you to hospital for further treatment. If at any point along the way, the worst should occur and you expire, there are morbidity and mortality conferences that you can request beyond an autopsy if suspicion exists that someone along the way was remiss in their responsibility or negligent. And everyone in that chain, from the operator at the call center to the ambulance driver, the paramedic, the emergency room team, and any doctors and nurses treating with you after, are aware that there are serious consequences for malpractice, including charges of depraved indifference to human life. This is the level of public health we are entitled to in this country. We spend $5 billion a year for our public health and get this fiasco in exchange. Isn't it time we did better? The Progressive Empowerment Party says so, and says that there are people in the world that we could hire and empower and employ to provide proper, adequate, professional, first world public health in Trinidad and Tobago, as described before. We can have a better country. We can have proper health care. It's a matter of voting. It's a matter of choice. What we do next is important. I am Philip Edward Alexander, and this has been a little more than 3 minutes to a better Trinidad and Tobago.
And we're back, and we are talking a little bit about agriculture because we just wrapped up that segment on the coronavirus. Earlier this week on the program, Tuesday, I had Michelle Davis, the deputy party organizer, and we were talking coronavirus and the fall in oil prices and the response to that by us here in Trinidad and Tobago. And not just the response, but the potential for the impact on us here in Trinidad and Tobago. And like I mentioned at the start of the program, we were supposed to have a technocrat in the field of agriculture come in to talk agriculture, diversification in terms of agriculture, food exports, and our food import bill. We don't have him here today, but we have the next best thing, which is Mr. Akil Kams, and we're going to talk a little bit about agriculture. And now we're going to tie in our finance minister's response to what is predicted to be a $3.5 billion budget shortfall this year. Now, for anybody who listened to the 2020 budget reading, we were already, I believe, at a $5 million deficit because we are operating on a deficit budget. We are spending more than we're making right now. And to deal with that, our finance minister has proposed some austerity measures, which include borrowing, dipping into the Heritage and Stabilization Fund, and I believe another one is linked to further taxation of the people. I don't think he worded it that way. I'm going to find the exact thing that he said. But before we get into that, let's talk a little bit about agriculture, because if we can't feed ourselves, what are we really doing?
Spinning top in mud.
Spinning top in mud.
And this importing food from Ghana idea, I mean, that's an insult to our farmers.
Take yam. I
That's
see
an
that hashtag
insult.
going on. So the take jam, take yam. And it is an insult to our intelligence. It's an insult to our local agriculture sector. It's an insult to our farmers. It's an insult to all of us as citizens of this republic.
The governments, past and present, they have caused the situation farmers in now. They have pushed farmers away from farming because of their inaction. To assist farmers, to encourage farmers, right? They do things, as someone told me yesterday, we in Trinidad, we always have a lot of meetings and we always prepare for this and we think about and we have consultation and that's it. That's as far as we reach.
It is.
Right? We had IDB last year did a whole thing on the agriculture sector. Right? I have some of the information. What it need was the downfalls, how we could boost it in for diversification. And the government, of course, is part of this.
Yes.
Right? And the things they say in here is they tell us, they say, okay, the challenges facing the agriculture sector, land rights uncertainty. Everybody basically knows that. They didn't even have to say that. It's kind of obvious. But the thing is, nobody is doing anything basically about it. There's always a fight down, right? In a few years ago, when I was seriously into the farming, I was going to apply for my farmer's badge order. But I could because I don't own land.
Yeah.
Right? So some of the benefits the government gives to farmers, you can't access it unless you have title. Right?
I am hearing that a lot of farmers, and the same guy who was supposed to come in, Kent, he was saying that many of the farmers don't have leases to the land that they operate on. So they're basically squatters on the land that they're operating on.
And the next thing is, when that happened now, my experience, I did agricultural loan for a whole year. I spent 6 months in Santa Cruz and the next 6 months in Brasso Caparo. While in Brasso Caparo, the area was planted by a friend of mine who has actually 50 acres of old Caroni lands. And that whole area is split up into 50 acres plots. And he was the only active planter in the area.
50 acres, and he was
50
the
acres,
only
and
active.
it had that's his plot, but they had like maybe 10 or 15 more, could be more, and only on his 50 acres they actually had any form of agriculture going on. The rest, and then when he came, who owns or who has access to the others, you understand why there's nothing going on it. They apply for the land, get it through whatever means. They probably they probably have their farmers badges and not doing any farming just in order to get the land, right? And I guess the plan is to wait out some time, and then eventually, as we see what happens with agricultural land, and then Bama strip mall goes up. Right? It didn't happen yet, but
yeah, but it's happening though, Akil. When you
it's
look,
happening.
when you look at Trinidad and Tobago right now, we have more malls and strip malls than we could ever need.
On
Some of
agricultural
them on agricultural land. Some of them, when you go into them, you see coming soon signs that have been there for months, waiting to see something coming in. What did I say? Waiting to see something come, and it doesn't happen because these literally just building buildings for building's sake, to rent it out to people. I'm seeing on the way to Shogunas, there a strip mall that open, and I'm seeing a department store that is very famous in Port of Spain and in Shogunas, and I'm wondering, was there actually a need to open such a huge version of this store on what is agricultural lands? And my question is, the people responsible for this, the government, the ones who give out leases, the ones who are in control of state lands, what is their plan for agriculture? Because there seems to be none. Because we have farmers languishing and begging and can't get a permit, can't get a lease. But we have government ministers and their families and friends of government ministers
hundreds and hundreds of acres.
owning hundreds and hundreds of acres. And it's not that they're owning hundreds and hundreds of acres to grow food.
Not doing it.
It's to build buildings.
To build warehouses, to
And
store
who-
food they import.
And who is keeping these people in check? Who's keeping them accountable for this? I mean, beside the Progressive Empowerment Party talking about it, we have a Minister of Agriculture, Clarence Rambrad, and I heard that he's a brilliant man. I actually had a discussion with him once. Wasn't even sure that was him until the end. And he seemed like a very intelligent, brilliant man.
We have a lot of those in government.
We have a lot of those in government, but what are they doing? This one I'm not too sure. This one I wouldn't go that far to say
Alright,
brilliant.
okay.
Maybe they're brilliant at other things, but in terms of performance, leaves much to be desired. But I mean, he seems like a fairly intelligent man. He must know that right now our agricultural sector is limping by. The fact, actually, when I heard that we are importing things like garlic, tilapia, I was in shock because, like I told Michelle earlier this week, when you hear about food importation, you think processed food. I was not aware, at least I wasn't aware to that degree, that we were importing simple things that I can grow in my compost heap in my backyard.
Exactly. And the thing is, why it's so frustrating. You're not assisting the farmers. Now I'm gonna get vexed because this kind of close to my heart. You're not assisting the farmers properly. You say you are, right? You come up with all these plans, put it down nicely in words. This is what we're gonna do, this is how we're gonna fix it, wherever. And then the actual work to get it done, not happening. And what the farmers left to do now, take for instance in Aranguez, go back some years, the whole Aranguez, left side of the highway, right side is only agriculture. Come to today now and look, you will see a lot of warehouses,
Yes,
big buildings.
I noticed that.
Where we went on the walk the other day, there was actually a stretch of apartments, must be running 1,000 feet. I ain't even count how much apartments in it, right? And all this is on agricultural land. And you see in other areas now where people gradually backfilling because you know that area is kind of floodplain area, which is ideal for agriculture. And they backfilling, putting rubble to raise the ground. Obviously they're gonna build on top of that, they're not gonna plant on top of that now. Right? So farmers or people owning agricultural land force in order to make an income, because of the lack of interest the government has in the agriculture sector, they can't make that income that they need to survive. And I experienced that. Certain things, difficultly. Or getting to that just now, but they see a better option to build a warehouse and rent it out. Build some apartments and rent it out.
But I mean, Akil, something as simple as having a plan in terms of what and who grows what.
Exactly.
It is mind-boggling to me that after 57 years, we can't yet map or chart the consumption data of our citizens. We can't yet say we eat this percentage of celery, consume this percentage of onions, tomatoes, etc., so that we don't have situations like farmers have been complaining about. Because when Riyad Muhammad called into the show about 2 weeks ago, it was the first time I had such an in-depth conversation with a farmer, and I was waiting for him to come and give me all of the technical and all of the problems that in terms of agriculture that I may not understand, that may be mind-boggling to me as to why farmers are suffering so much. But the explanation that he gave for the reason why farmers are getting so frustrated, why the agricultural sector is failing, was so simple. Like I said, something as simple as not as farmers planting the same crops and leading to a glut in the market. Something as simple as that can drive a farmer out of business. When you told me about your celery, that hurt my heart, because I mean, to imagine when I have a little compost heap in my backyard that I started to grow some scythe in it, and when I passed, I only had about literally 3 or 4 stalks of scythe. When I passed and saw one of them withering away, that hurt my
No,
when it withering away, it hurt my heart.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm not selling this. It's not like I go into market with it. Imagine watching a field of your produce just literally wither away.
And agriculture is like that. When I was planting pak choy in Santa Cruz, it was a rainy season, and we got rain drizzling, overcast for like 4 days. Right now, pak choy gets bacteria quickly, and under those conditions, it increases.
Bacteria
so on the 5th day, the sun came out in all its glory, right? And it was too quick. That changed, and the bacteria set in, and all the bacteria just did so, and that was it. So I was watching a field 14 feet by 200 feet of bacteria just. Now they have ways to compensate that, which I didn't like to do, which was spraying fungicide during the rain, while the rain falling, to control the bacteria growth. But the stage the pak choy was at, I would have had to pick the following week. So I could have rushed and pick it too in the rain.
Yeah.
Which I didn't do a lapse there. But to save it, I would have to spray the copper, and that copper is dangerous for human consumption, so you don't want to spray that down to close to the reaping time. So I chose not to do it, and anyway I lost the field. Right? So farming has its challenges, and there are times you need that backup. You need a little assistance, and if you don't get that, that's a point where you just
it's the point where you frustrate people and you turn them away. And for those who may just be tuning in, we're talking about agriculture today because we just came off of the topic of the coronavirus, which is now officially a pandemic according to the World Health Organization, and they were bracing from calling it a pandemic, but based on the number of cases that have multiplied across the globe, it is official. I mean, it's now in over 100 countries, and that in itself qualifies it as a pandemic. Now, again, how does that impact us and the food industry? We are already experiencing a I don't want to say shortage, but we're already experiencing a problem where we cannot import certain goods that we would usually get from China, particularly food stuff. Now, for us here in Trinidad, food sustainability, being able to feed ourselves, is an issue that can arise because I remember something Philip used to say that if a World War III was really to break out, we literally would find ourselves in a shitstorm because the country that can feed itself is a country that can survive and ride out and ride through that storm.
Mhm.
But when you are depending on importing most of your goods, most of your produce, most of your food items, you are at risk of being severely impacted should a case of a world war breakout or a pandemic like we are seeing with the coronavirus, which is impacting our ability to import foods. Being able to feed ourselves is so important, and it is alarming that according to that IDB study that you just quoted and other symposiums that we have heard and theses that are rotting away on shelves in UE and UTT, that we are really not doing anything in terms of advancing and developing our agriculture sector. And when I think about that, I think about our PEP Farms initiative. And for those who are not aware, our PEP Farms initiative is based on us being able to feed ourselves, is based on us being food independent. And like I said, we have to be able to feed our nation and not rely on importing from other countries. It also helps with our food import bill, which we found out this week was $800 million US, and that figure is literally astronomical to me, Akil, when I think about it. And then I compare it to our $60 billion
We could keep all our money right here.
budget.
Right.
We could slash that by more than half. I think experts have said that we can slash our food import bill by more than half if we are able to grow certain things. We're going to Ghana for yam.
Oh God.
Ghana for yam. Akil, as a farmer, tell me, is there something about our soil that makes it impotent, or what's the word for it, that makes it what?
They have parts of the forest you could go and get yam, and we didn't even plan that.
So
Right,
then,
so
so
the
then
yam
what
kinda
is
grows on it.
so what is the draw to going to Ghana? Is it because Ghana is one of the most corrupt African nations in the world? Is it that corrupt deals with corrupt? Like, what is our reason right now? I mean, laughing about it.
Why not? Why didn't go Guyana?
Why not Guyana?
Yeah, Guyana
Why
right
not
there,
partner
closer.
with Guyana, which has land in the thousands of acres that they will never use, because Guyana is severely underpopulated.
And we have a lot of boats coming from that side, the Trinidad, that could bring all the produce, and Venezuela too. Venezuela, they do a lot of agriculture, especially now they're catching the tail.
Partner with Venezuela if we're afraid of, or we don't want to deal with them, because they look,
Let's put it this way: the boats coming anyhow.
we might as well.
Might as well.
I'm not encouraging that, but I mean, partner with Venezuela, partner with Guyana. If it is we don't want to or can't grow these things here, but Africa, we went across the continent to grow and import yams. Like I was saying
I think
about-
that deal is just the roses on top of the bag.
The roses on top the back. PEP Farms, our plan is to make farmlands available to farmers on a lease basis, and we will give you, based on consumption data, we would set particular crops for you to grow. So we have,
You
let's
could
make an
choose.
example, we have 10 farmers. We won't have all 10 growing
One crop.
pimento.
Yeah.
One farmer on 1 acre will grow pimento, another farmer on another acre will grow celery, another farmer on another acre will grow side. And if you can prove that on a consistent basis that you are delivering at least 75%, 80% of your crop yield, we move you up to 5 acres. Then if you continue on that path, we move you up to 10 acres. And again, this land is owned by the state. You are allowed to lease this land, and you are growing for the purpose of consumption internally. But as we grow, we also need to be exporting these things, because we have things on the market, Akil, that would do extremely well on the global market right now.
You know what
pimentos.
I like about Pep's plan? I never liked leaving the garden to go to the market, right? I mean, when I reach in the market, I would get relaxed, whatever, and I would enjoy it at some point. But the PEP plan, where we would take, where the government, a PEP government, would, when you reap, would take all your goods and even give you a price before you even plant. They say, okay, when you plant, whatever you reap, we give you $4 a pound, whatever it is, right? And they come, send somebody to collect, and then they handle the sales afterwards. So which means you as a farmer, you could stay on your land and just plant.
And just plan. And that's the problem that we have. We have a lot of part-time farmers who planting today. Look at you, Akil. Akil is a perfect example. Akil, if he went into farming full-time, I think he could probably feed all of what constituency
No, actually,
you from?
I tried that. I tried going into agriculture full-time, but it was a learning experience, because at that point, I realized, okay, cool. Number one, you have to live where you plant.
Yes.
Otherwise, you might be planting for somebody else to reap.
And that is part of Pep Farm's plan, that you would be living on the land or nearby the land that you're planting, because you need to be able to tend to your crops. You need to be able to spot things like diseases and bacteria and all of these things to prevent there being a case of your crops going bad or wilting away or whatever the technical term.
That's not the most important part about living where you're planting. For now, perennial larceny is the main reason.
That is the
me.
main one. And in term perennial larceny for the Progressive Empowerment Party and under our Pep Farms initiative, it is intended to be one of the biggest groups in terms of
The squad, the police,
biggest squads, because you literally stealing food should be treated as a severe crime. It is literally taking food out of the mouth of the nation. It should be treated as a big crime, and not just stealing food. The idea that we have in terms of giving farmers permits to sell, because once you're selling above a certain amount of produce, you should be able to have a license, a permit that says I have a permit, I'm a farmer, I have a permit that says I am a celery farmer or a tomato farmer. So this way, when you pull up at the side of the highway and you see these random trucks selling things, you know for sure that you're buying from a legitimate registered farmer, not some man who went in somebody's garden, steal a truckload of stuff and come and sell it on the highway. Because I can imagine, I sell it on next to nothing, because I can imagine how frustrating that would be for a farmer to go through all of that work, especially those crops that take forever.
I experienced it.
Only to have it wiped out.
I went with pimento from 3 crocus bags of pimento to 3 hilo bags.
I remember you were telling me that story,
You laughing?
and I laughed, but it's not funny.
I could cry.
But I can imagine, because
After
that
feeling
is
so good, like, what boy, 3 bags this time, I will get about 4 bags.
yeah.
Reach up there, watch you feel and realize this is looking so.
You got wiped out.
And then to hear a neighbor say that, hey, that neighbor over there children was picking. A fella come with a van and was picking. I called the police for here, but they didn't come. And then when I go to the police station, I will make a report.
It's not treated as something
No,
serious.
and the lady asking me, you have permission to plant on that land? I say, lady, I'm telling you, people come in and steal my pimentos, and yes, I have permission from the owner to plant there, and you treated me like if I steal the pimentos. And she watched me and talking hard, watch me. I walk out, and then I get vexed and I walk back in. I say, can I have your name and your badge number? Well, boy, if she could have pelted at me,
she would have pelted.
Yeah, get that so loud.
But Akil, that's the right thing. Like I say, perennial larceny is a serious crime, and under Progressive Empowerment Party government, it would be treated as such, because the work of our farmers, they are responsible for feeding the nation, and farmers, teachers, law enforcement people, these are some of the people that we think should be paid the highest. They should be making the biggest income, because you're literally responsible for feeding, educating, and securing the safety of the nation. And again, put us into office and you would see farmers, you would see what a government that cares about your interests look like. You would see what a government that is committed to food independence looks like. You would see what a government that is committed to bringing down our food import bill looks like. 800 million US dollars. That could be so much better spent right now in these times of hardship. $800 million when our finance minister is talking about borrowing from our depleted heritage and stabilization fund to cover our budget deficit for 2020 alone. What happens if the price of oil remains low and we are in 2021? What happens if the coronavirus impact is it extends and we see it all the way into 2020, 2021?
I don't know. The good thing is we're not at that stage where we can't fix it, and maybe this virus will force the government to do what it knows it has to do. They have it. They wrote this. They have all the information on how we're going to fix things. Another problem for farmers also is the lack of infrastructure with respect to roads, right? Access roads. I have some family down south. A bridge fell down to access the land, and that's over 20 years now. It's so long, and they ain't fixed it yet, that the first part of the road from the main road to where the bridge was, a homeowner started to develop onto the road because it's not being used.
Yeah.
So as far as he concerned, hey, I taken that as mine, free land, right? So he blocked the road now, right? So they can't even reach the river to fix the bridge now. So if by some means they got some money and decided, okay, time to push into this agriculture on the land, they have a court battle to fight, because you know what's going on, right? It's so sad. And the government have all the information and okay, let's do it.
This study was done in when? 2019?
This study has been done over and over. I was watching 2006, 2011, last year, right? They in fact, probably if we go back in time, this study, besides the updates, is probably the same thing. They just print it over.
Listen,
serious.
I said it earlier this week in the program, then I'll say it now. Success leaves clues. We have the research. When people say we can't do that, our Prime Minister said, "What? It's impossible to diversify this economy." That is a lie. Trinidad and Tobago could be diversified. Right now, and I was listening to that interview yesterday with Professor Patrick Watson, that economist who came on to Plain Talk, and he was talking about the fact that our main problem is that we're not exporting anything, and that's it. We are importing, but we're not exporting. And I look around again at the global markets and the things that Trinidad and Tobago could have gotten into. And I mean, they say the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, figuratively and literally in this case. The next best time is now, exactly. Because we are putting too much on the line by continuing to have a negative approach, a negative attitude towards agriculture, towards diversification, especially in a period like now where diversification is so absolutely critical.
Now there's a next downfall to the agriculture too, and that is labor. And that's because of the oil to some extent. The percentage of people in farming or wanting to do farm labor as such has significantly dropped. And to
But
get
have governments really made it attractive
no,
though?
and that's the problem. That's the problem. The
We
this
look down
stifle
on we
agriculture in
look
that
down
sense
on,
too.
on planting and doing tasks with your hands and stuff. We want people behind desks and computers, and those are the same people right now who have to turn to things like farming as
no
jobs
farming
become harder.
is very lucrative, right? In between the celery I planted, Shadow Benny started growing its own, right? So
yes.
at some point, well, as we didn't and left the Shadow Benny, and when I did the first reaping of Shadow Benny, it was like $800 in Shadow Benny alone, and that's something I didn't plan for,
Mm-hmm.
right? Now my neighbor came and was helping me, and they were like, how much Shadow Benny selling for? It was like $12 a pound, right? A pound of Shadow Benny is plenty Shadow Benny, and they're making no money on that. By the time we picked, and I told the person, I said, well, that's $700 in Shadow Benny, and they jump. Right? Because they're looking at agriculture, there's no money in it, right? But that celery pulled me through all the period of time where that money, I needed it. In fact, my plan was that celery money was going to go towards some repairs after doing my house. I was just going to hide it. But you know what life does.
Well, Akil, I saw to you have me right now thinking about all of the wild Shadow Benny that I have growing in my backyard. So you will see me this evening picking, and I mean, since anybody could sell produce, maybe I might pull up on Charlotte Street and take a little. You
That's
never
it.
know. You never
Farming
know.
has stages too, eh? you could beyond, okay, you could plan a certain amount, and okay, for instance, let's say I decided I'm gonna plant a little bit of celery, and that I would sell to my neighbors, family, right? And it would be sufficient to supply them.
I'm still waiting on my bundle.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Right? Now, the minute you go beyond that little bit and you reach like what I planned, the quantity wise,
Mass production.
you're looking at I was reaping at one point 60 bundles celery.
Okay.
Right?
And this is a day?
No.
In one crop.
A week, in almost 2 weeks.
Okay.
So you could say every week and a half, let's say I could have reaped about that. That's at its prime. It reduced after a while though. Now that I can sell to neighbors and friends and family, so that's where you go wholesale now,
Okay.
right? Now the thing with wholesale, you will get less per bundle than if you're selling retail, right? So a farmer or a part-time farmer may have to plant variety instead of one item and quantity, because you would want to sell one person 3 different items, so you get more income because you will only buy one celery, right? So you have to decide how big you want to get, and obviously the bigger you get, the more you just have to find the market.
Yeah.
I said farming, I mean, little tricks and things. They have some guys do paper.
I
They're
love how
from-
you come with all the
from
research.
Waterloo Road in Aruka. They were here actually. We met them.
The guys from the
Yeah.
Voice of Agriculture,
Yeah,
yes.
these guys they did some good work.
Let us get them on the next program, because I
Yeah.
think agriculture deserves
They have an interesting
time, plenty time on the
does,
discussion,
it
because like I am finding out, we have a lot of very dedicated and talented farmers here in Trinidad and Tobago who
you
are
just have
just
to get them
being
together and
stifled, and
yeah.
get them
And give them the
together,
support.
get them out of the little pockets that they have, get them to amalgamate. Well, I don't want to say amalgamate, but get
Mhm.
them under one umbrella, one common goal, which should be food independence as a nation.
And the main thing, take them serious.
Take them seriously.
That's
Our
it.
farmers deserve respect.
Let them
They
pour the
deserve
shots
the
to some
attention.
point.
Exactly, and they deserve to know that their efforts are being rewarded, both financially and in terms of, what was the other one? I hate when a point slips my mind. With that, we will take a break and come back because we have a certain government minister to talk about, Mr. Slips and Tumbles. We will be right back.
Despite the security and convenience advantages offered, many have opted out of the formal banking sector and have chosen instead less traditional means of saving their money. Due in no small part to what some have termed rapacious and usurious fees and rates, the public find themselves in a position where deposits of funds in the banks lead to a net loss at the end of the year, making no sense to anyone at all. The traditional relationship is supposed to be one built on depositors' funds being made available to the banks so that the banks could make those funds available through credit to small businesses to stimulate development and growth. This would have the effect of buoying the economy and creating jobs, a net win for everyone. But that is not what occurs right now. The absence of banking service regulations creates an environment where the banks could do as they pretty much damn well please, leading to where we are today, money warehousing. The Progressive Empowerment Party advocates for strong financial service regulations, including setting and determining banks' lending and deposit fees so as to create an environment where the banks can continue to earn fantastic profits as they do right now, and also protect depositors from overzealous profiteering banks. Deposit fees, cash checking fees, over-the-counter fees, ATM fees, we're one step away from banks charging appearance fees. It is ridiculous. And someone has to speak about it. The public does not know who to turn to. The Financial Services Ombudsman seems to be a myth. The central bank governor and the Minister of Finance don't seem to understand whose responsibility it is to protect depositors and customers from ridiculous fees run amok. So the Progressive Empowerment Party will. We are engaging this conversation with the public, hoping to get the banks and those in government presently to do their jobs. If not, an election is around the corner. Vote the Progressive Empowerment Party into office, and we will ensure that while the banks are free to make all the profits they want, they will do so servicing and respecting the customers, paying interest on depositors' funds that they use to generate interest for themselves through lending credit, and not have to rely on advantageous fees leaking funds from customers' accounts.
What do you call it when a bunch of companies collude to set prices, fix markets, close off competition, capture regulators, and bribe politicians?
Another issue contributing to this lack of respect and service is the closed-off nature of our financial services sector and the lack of real competition among the banks. The Progressive Empowerment Party also advocates for an open market where banking and financial services are concerned. We would create an environment that invites international competition to help bring new, vibrant stimulation into the economy, creating an environment where all banks now have to compete for depositors' funds, creating the environment that we're looking for. I am Philip Edward Alexander, and this has been 3 minutes to a better Trinidad and Tobago.
We are back in the second hour of Pep Talks in the morning. And before I went on break, I mentioned that we had a particular government minister to talk about, the one and only who took his tumble this week, 2 days ago. Aki, did you see that video?
In videos.
The videos, plural.
Oh my God.
Listen.
Trini's are easier.
Trini's those stick, you know. The man probably fell at 11 o'clock. At 11:05, there were at least 10 different memes out talking about this man.
Right, but I hope he could take fatigue, yes?
You hope he could what? Take?
Hope he could take some fatigue. Because that is, I mean, if that would happen to me, I would just laugh. I would just watch all the memes and laugh. I mean, knowing that, well, the damage wasn't that bad thank God. But
I saw somebody post that all of a sudden, all the time when people fall, we laughing, but as soon as it's a government minister, it's not okay. I don't care. I laughed. Had Philip Edward Alexander taken a similar
I'd have
tumble,
laughed too.
I would have laughed too. Philip, sorry, it's my boy, but I mean, like I said, falling is just funny. I mean, if somebody fall and they die, you would probably not laugh so much, but he fall, and I mean,
and he get up.
He
And
got up.
Yeah. He got
And
up.
I mean, my comment was that the man looked like he was bowling for six. Who falls like that? Who falls like whoop?
Yeah.
What was
Is
that?
the angle of fall? I was gonna do a little forensic investigation into the fall itself, but
I was watching the
Gee,
Crazy
man.
Legs video, which as of
yeah,
yesterday
that fella
was
dread, boy.
close to 300,000 views.
And he catch in the end he catch the actual song and he fall boom, 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 and he just shoot boom, boom. I say, oh gosh.
Listen, it's when he stopped the video and he actually saw it. Looked like the lady was clapping to him falling. I was dying, and the Iowa song that they added to it was so perfect because every single name that he mentioned was visible in the audience. The fire marshals, the minister.
Yeah,
I mean, he had to add in Travis Sayers' face, but it was hilarious. And Stuart Young.
Crazy Legs, people, check Crazy Legs.
Yeah, check that Crazy Legs video. I'm giving him a plug because it is hilarious as hell and it was very funny. I mean, I heard that he had a bruised shoulder. He hurt his arm or something like that.
He survived.
He survived. I think he's probably suffering more from a bruised ego. And I would understand because I have fallen in public more than a fair amount of times. I remember I was in a lab, just real off topic here because the fall is not the point of the discussion. But remember I was in a lab, in physics lab in school, and you know those stools that they had, and I'm sitting down next to my Bunsen burner and my pen fell, and I'm like, maybe if I rock back just a little bit I could and
I didn't look
crash.
at it.
And the class was extremely quiet. I think we were doing a test or something at the time, and I fell. Actually, one of my classmates commented on my post and she said, hey, I remember when you used to rail fall in school. I hope you're not doing that still. I said, let's just say not
as
so
much.
much. Not so much. I don't think I've fallen yet in PEP, thankfully. Knock on wood, because that probably means it's going to come. But as a clumsy person, I think it would be expected at some point I, Felicia Holder, take a tumble. Hopefully it's not on a stage or anything too public to give me a bruised ego like our minister is probably suffering from and recovering from
And
right
the,
about now.
The funny thing is someone said, I don't know how true it is, that he wasn't really supposed to go and say anything.
Really?
Yeah, he just kind of pushed his way.
He
to
pushed-
go.
I guess
So I think that kind of make it worse.
probably. If anybody has he surfaced since?
No, I ain't
He
see it.
hasn't.
I ain't see
A
it.
Minister of Communication, we're not going to get a public release and updates on his fall. No, his treatment in San Fernando General Hospital, whether he had to wait. I believe he was rushed ahead of the queue, right?
Let's not even go there.
Let's not even go there. But we brought up Minister Stuart Young, not just to catch some kicks over his little tumble on Tuesday, but while that story did take front and center because albeit it was funny, I think what a lot of citizens didn't pay attention to though was the actual reason why he was there, which was the opening of the penal
$71 million fire station.
$71 million fire station. And we get into the serious stuff of this entire discussion now because yesterday I sat with my deputy chairman, Sean Tunerain, and we averaged the cost of a fire engine, which was not included in the building cost, by the way, of back in 2010, 12, or 15, about $2-3 million. Let's add some inflation to it and say $5 million. That's the cost of a fire engine. Not a fire station, a fire engine. Which again was not included in the building cost of that fire station. I want to know what in that fire station costs $71 million. That to me is the real story, and the part that unfortunately many Trinbagonians missed, but not us here in the Progressive Empowerment Party, because it comes under fire in terms of a lot of other questionable purchases or expenditures made by this present administration. The $89 million on the president's house, the 17 on the president's cottage, the $441 million, and I know these figures by rote now because they're literally stamped in my mind, because every time I think of expenditure that high, I think about the public hospitals, I think about the lack of medicine, the lack of medicine in the hospitals. I think about the fact that social services is in a hot mess. There was a joint select committee last week that needed members of the public and NGOs to come together, like we were talking about, a lot of symposiums and talks and conferences to come together to determine what the public already knows, which is that the Ministry of Social Development is failing the people, social services is failing the people. We're having a lot of these things to talk and no action, no real action. And I'm looking again, I'm pointing out this cost because the reason we have inaction is because of bad spending, of money being looted at various sectors of the buying and spending and expenditure process that is not reaching the hands of the people. And I always try to equate it. When the people defend and they fight on national pride and $441 million, the end, what happens down the line? You're not feeling that money, and down the line you are being impacted. You have to understand that you are being impacted. Cumming
All the money
said,
spent on road repairs, what we borrow, you're not feeling it.
Cumming he said he defended his decision to keep the expenditure at $52 billion. That's our current budget, and not cut expenditure, in keeping with the falling revenue streams. And these falling revenue streams, for those who may now be tuning in or those who are unaware, these falling revenue streams are referring to our oil and gas prices, which have both declined as the world responds to the coronavirus and the tensions rising between Russia and Saudi Arabia, which have impacted the price of oil. He defended his decision to keep the budget and not cut spending. He said doing so could stifle the economy and impact jobs. Now, before I go on to read the next part, why he's not going to curtail expenditure, to an ordinary Joe or somebody who's not thinking beyond what he said there, that's true. In a recession, one of the things that they don't encourage people to do is to hoard and cut back money, because when you do that, you further stifle the economy. An economy is stifled when money is not passing through it, and I learned this in basic economics form 3 class. An economy has to be stimulated, because if you not take, for example, if that $100 that you take, that you would normally go and spend in food, you decide, you know what, I'm not spending that money in food, I'd rather save it. The food producer, he is now impacted because he is not getting his source of income. He now in turn is not going to spend money on probably doing his hair or getting his regular haircut. Maybe I will get my haircut once every 2 months instead of once every 2 weeks. And that in effect would stifle and restrict the economy. But the government expenditure that Cumming is referring to here is mostly on vanity projects. It's not on expenditure that is going, or as far as I believe, is going to stimulate the economy. Because whose hands and whose pockets is this money really going into? I will never forget that after the Red House fiasco, that the fiasco, the group of contractors that came to protest with us in solidarity that day, because they had not been paid. And I'm asking my question, after $441 million,
How come they
How
get paid?
come we have contractors who have still not been paid? Is it a case where money passed and it didn't touch those who actually did the bulk of the work, or it didn't reach to some of the people? Like, what is the cause of that? How can something be budgeted and approved yet you still have people not paid? How could it be budget approved and reach to the stage of cost overruns and you still don't have people being paid?
That's don't even try to understand that. Someone tried to explain that to me some time ago. Why it is that you get a government, because he was advising me register with the government and apply for government contracts. And I tell him no way. I say I for one can't wait to collect pay. If I finish a job within a certain time, I expect balance or whatever completion payment. And as far as the little experience I got and hearing from other people, it don't work like that.
In terms of cutting back, now this is for people who are forgetting, this is an election year, and this is the year where you throw out candy and sweeties and all of the treats, and ooh, look at the fancy building, and look at the ooh, and all the who's and the has. And I mean, his decision to not cut back on spending to me is very concerning, particularly when it means we are now no longer going to be in a $5 million deficit, but a $8.5 million deficit as we add in $3.5 million billion dollars, sorry, and this is billions of dollars we're talking about here, based on the now revised price of oil and gas. And I'm reading his comment here in the papers. If we keep our expenditure as we planned, we would obviously have to finance it through two mechanisms. No, actually three. One would be borrowing, more borrowing. Second, draw down on the Heritage and Stabilization Fund. Our fund is, yesterday Patrick Watson, Philip and I were actually looking at the last recorded figure of our Heritage and Stabilization Fund, and it's hovering around $6 billion US. Countries like Switzerland and Norway and Denmark are talking hundreds of billions in their Heritage and Stabilization Fund. And actually, I can't remember, is it Norway? I can find that information for you. Norway, I believe, actually has, their Heritage and Stabilization Fund actually has 1 point something trillion dollars. Trillion. You know how many zeros in a trillion?
Yeah.
That your calculator can't, by the time you calculate trillions, your calculator says error. Or E, infinity. What is infinity? E, yes. It can't even calculate that. That doesn't tell you how much money they have to fall back on. And we're talking about $6 billion in comparison to a budget deficit of $8.5 billion. Thirdly, one would be borrowing. Secondly is to draw down on the Heritage and Stabilization Fund. We will have to do some restructuring of the manner in which the fund operates. That is very vague. Thirdly would be extraordinary revenue from sales of assets and so on. We are putting a plan right now on how to deal with a $3.5 billion shortfall we had already projected to finance and the 5 that was stated in the 2020 budget. Third is sale of assets. So we're going to we're going to have to dip into our Heritage and Stabilization Fund. Something that some countries wouldn't have to do probably maybe after 3, 4, 5 years of a coronavirus outbreak, because they have a cushion on which to fall back. They have a strong economy on which to fall back. We are talking about dipping into our depleted Heritage and Stabilization Fund in the wake of the virus not even hitting us yet. In the wake of the real impact of the dropping oil prices not even hitting us yet, because this only happened last week. We're already talking about dipping into, and then we're talking about...
I think there's just an excuse to go in and they're going to take that money and use it.
Then we're talking about the sale of assets. And nowhere in there, absolutely nowhere in that article did I hear anything about finding new streams of incomes, new streams of revenue. Like I said, a tree, best time to plant it would have been 20 years ago, and that's true. People, I saw a comment on Facebook yesterday that I can't believe all you're blaming the government for the coronavirus and the falling oil prices. And I started, when you start to comment to somebody and then you just backspace, because you realize it makes no sense, and it's a waste of a point, especially if the person, they're only intent on making excuses and finding a problem for every solution.
They're not open. To see anything else.
But what I wanted to say to her was that no, the PNM and this government and the UNC as the last government, they weren't the reasons why we are going to be impacted by the coronavirus. That is a global pandemic that unfortunately is going to trickle down and has begun to trickle down and impact us as a country. No, we didn't set the oil prices, and actually we don't have a play in setting oil prices on a world scale. That's determined by countries larger than us and markets much greater than us who have a bigger control of the oil share in the world. But, and I say but with a very big B and many T's, this government, the past government, the government before that, and the government before that, which would all add up to about a little under 20 years, because the Manning government only lasted, 2 years before he called an early election. And the government before that, what have they done in terms of mitigating and prepare us for what we are facing right now? Like we were talking about with the virus, we live with this perception that God is a Trinity and we safe, and Carnival come and we wine and we jam, and now that we are forced to face real realities, and I say real realities because I have to believe that we live in a bubble of complacency, a bubble of it not going to impact us. As a hurricane come and we don't get catch, but preparation and prevention, like I said, is always critical in surviving any mass pandemic or epidemic or global economic crisis or recession. And how have we prepared in the past 20 years? We haven't. We've been talking Vision 2020.
You know what I was frightening to, I want to mention it earlier. What's happening in Venezuela? Now, because of the situation in Venezuela politically, the virus hitting Venezuela, the effect and the control wouldn't be as good as it should be because of the situation. And then now, what's going to happen when, well, I don't think it ever stops, but the people moving between Venezuela and Trinidad, the risk factor is going to grow exponentially.
You don't hear about that again though. For some reason you don't. As much as I still see Venezuelans, and when I say still see them, I go to some places and you're seeing brand new people, and I say brand new people, there's a particular restaurant that I visit and they have, every week I see new staff members. So I mean, I'm not sure if they were just already here in the country or new ones came in, but there has been no update on that work permit situation, which is it up or is it due to be up?
I think after a while what happens is we as trainees, we just kind of, because we may not find that the issue anybody taking it on, we just kind of fade out with it. But it's still going on. People, we still have the people coming in.
The 9-day mentality, we forget about it.
Now, are we going with this coronavirus thing? Are we going now to force, I wouldn't say blockade, but to enforce the border control?
That is actually a really good question that you raised there, Akil, because we are securing our nation from a national, well, a border security. I don't want to say border security point of view because we have no border security. We securing our nation in terms of we locking down the airports, and we stopping ships from docking. Well, some can come, and in terms of that. But what about all the illegal ports of entry that we have? The influx of people coming in here from Venezuela. I don't know if we get from Guyana. I think
I would note it. But that whole open area down south,
that we
are
have.
they going to finally lock it down? If let's say things get worse and we really controlling it here in Trinidad, we could trace the steps of people who have the virus and where they've been and kind of get control on it. But these people, if this continues to happen and people coming in the country, we don't know if they're coming with the virus. We don't know anything of that sort, and that is just an avenue for it to just keep coming and spreading. So they're gonna have to take a stand and lock it down and control it. Now, I'm not saying stop it totally, but at least have proper checks on the port down in that area. But something has to happen, right? And this virus is going to force the Coast Guard and the National Security Ministry to work on that. Whether they have interest in allowing the activity to happen or not. Because at the end of the day, it's life or death.
It is.
And I hope life will take precedence, right? So maybe this might be a blessing in disguise. We'll actually see some sort of control with respect to the open borders.
You see, with anything, another government, another country, I would take that at face value that this is a blessing in disguise. And maybe it is in terms of the citizens getting a real wake-up call. I'm not one of those people who would advocate that the virus comes here to teach us a lesson, no. But if it does have to, or if it does happen to come here, I do hope that people would take it seriously and stop living on this whole hope that, the notion that God is a Trinity, so we spared from everything. But as much as I would like to believe it is going to be a blessing in disguise, I have to look at the past and the historical movements of this government, and even in the response to everything that is happening globally right now. I don't have any faith, I don't have much faith that we have the right stewards in office right now to lead us out of something that on a national scale, on a global scale, that they themselves are struggling to combat. I mean, look at Italy. Italy is a second world nation, and they are struggling right now to keep the virus contained. Here in Trinidad,
listen, throughout history we have seen situations arise and people step up to the plate, and this is going to be one of those times. People are going to realize they have to step up to the plate. Now, a simple thing I'm sure you didn't consider, as this virus, garbage on the streets, garbage collection. Imagine you have a household that somebody may have it and they quarantine themselves. Right now you'll be using things, napkins, tissues, you may throw in the garbage. Then you put your garbage out the side of the road, right? We know it has a certain lifetime period of time where
it survives. Yeah.
Right. So the garbage collection people, they're gonna be at high risk. They're already
exposed.
At high risk.
Yeah.
Right? It's gonna be worse for them. The garbage collection times, in terms of getting that garbage off the street in a speedy time, so as you wouldn't get dogs bursting bags and things blowing around the place, and that could increase the spread. So the government they're gonna have to start to work. They're gonna have to start to have these the collection trucks. It's a lot of coordination, a lot of management which they don't do. They're gonna be forced to manage now. It's life or death.
You saying garbage, and I'm just thinking about Belmont. I'm just thinking about the garbage that I pass every single day that is there on schedule, never misses. Um, well, it's always there. And
Yeah. Simple as
no, I mean,
simple
you're
as
right, as simple as that. And I mean, I really hope that the reaction to this is going to be speedy. One can hope.
For now, it's a lot of talk, and we need to start seeing the action. Okay, they mentioned that the Cuba Hospital, they will open it to carry patients there.
They will, but should not be open right now, waiting for in the event. I mean, I hope there are drills being conducted, preparation,
staff,
training, exactly, all of that.
everything. Yeah. Somebody was talking about it on the radio last night. That they should be doing like a trial run, mock tests, get the nurses, the health sector itself, get them in some way accustomed to dealing with things a certain way so they don't make mistakes, because you have to secure yourself,
You know,
right? And in the rush, if you wait till last minute then to implement certain things, that rush, people make mistakes could cost them their lives, right?
literally.
Have mock runs now, bringing people, if we do have the people here to educate, right? Set up a scenario and get people accustomed to operating a certain way. So when it actually gets worse, they accustomed to it already. So the chances of making a mistake will be less, right? Now, is Cuba Hospital going to be enough? Do we have a backup after that, a backup quarantine area? Other than, I think Cora already, supposedly set up for it, right? We may need, if it get really bad, we may need somewhere else also.
In my opinion, in my very limited with my limited knowledge on dealing with diseases and a pandemic like the virus that we're seeing right now, I think we should have multiple zones to, you know, limit the risk of contamination, because I mean, you don't want to have a patient falling ill in south and we bringing them up to the north to quarantine them, because the transit alone puts several people at risk. You would want to contain that within the area it happens to keep and mitigate the spread. Like I said, there are literal regions in Italy and other countries that have been absolutely cordoned off. Wuhan in China was, and still is, I believe, cordoned off to the rest of China. Schools are closed. I mean, those children who are not going to school are probably really happy. Schools are closed, churches, mosques, temples. And I mean, it is a temporary measure, but it's a temporary measure that has to be implemented to curtail future spread of the virus. And I mean, everything keeps coming back to this because it is the topic of the day. It is impacting things around the globe. Like I mentioned at the start of the program, because of the threat of the virus and the fact that the World Health Organization has now officially declared this a pandemic, and in light of us wanting to put the safety of our, not just our supporters, not just PEP members, but the entire nation at, you know, putting your safety first, we have decided to postpone the launch of our candidates, and this is 100% in your interest. Trust me, if there was another way, and there may be another way, because we are in discussions of possibly presenting it in another format to be determined. I mean, we'll meet soon and discuss, probably meet with masks on just in case, but we are doing this out of caution and for your own safety. Like I said, it's 7:41. We didn't take any calls in this hour, but we do want to take in the last 15 minutes. We're going to take a quick break, come back. We are opening the lines to discuss anything from the coronavirus to the economy, the state of the economy, this government's presence or response to the economic downturn that we are about to face. Also, government expenditure, which in terms of vanity projects have not stopped. It is an election year, and we anticipate that they are going to continue spending in areas that we are not certain is going to come back and benefit the entire economy. All of this as we face a gloomy outlook on the world scale. We will be right back.
Antel is Trinidad's most reliable and technically experienced ICT company, providers of quality structured cabling, Cat6 data fiber, and power cables. We also stock cabling infrastructure basket-type cable trays for server rooms and data centers. Antel also installs and maintains video security systems including cameras, alarms, and electronic entrance locks for businesses and residential properties. Call Antel 674-1406 or 783-9250.
We are back for the last 17 minutes of this show. There was something I wanted to talk about in the last 10 minutes, and I need to pull that up because I made a nice little agenda and completely went haywire on it. But we are this time opening the phone lines to anybody who would like to call in. We touched on agriculture as well this morning, in depth actually. We devoted about 35-45 minutes talking about agriculture, because in the wake of everything that we would have been discussing today, the spotlight is on the agricultural sector and how Trinidad and Tobago is going to respond in terms of sustaining ourselves, keeping our food imports down, and basically being able to ride out the storm that the coronavirus is presenting to us as a nation. The number to call in if you're interested in calling is 347-4737. I want to hear from more farmers. If we have any farmers watching the program, please call in, because I'd like to hear your take on...
Actually, someone just texted me and he's saying agriculture in Trinidad lacks a grading process. Good or bad, want the same price. The price of, let's say, $7 a pound or more means $1 per pound cannot compete in the export market, right? And he's correct, and that's so for now. But if we plant in bulk, and if we plant using the consumption data, we could control the prices, which means that $7 could come down, and we could become we could try to become a little more competitive on the market. But we also had to do something with our dollar value also.
Yep.
So that will take some time, but we could get there with the willpower. Government with the willpower to get us there is the key factor in anything we have to fix in this country. We need to put a government in place that has the willpower to want to fix it, and for betterment of the people, all the people, not just a few.
Where there is a will, there is a way, and there's a way to make our local produce, our farmers' produce, more competitive on a local scale. You need to have a government that is, it's focused on doing that. Is because there are ways, there are subsidies, there are ways to make us more competitive. And I'm really sorry that we did not have Kent on that show this morning because he was actually discussing some ways to make our produce more competitive. The tilapia, for example, he was explaining as of right now, it is more expensive than importing because I mean China was mass exporting this on a global scale.
Actually, he was telling us he's going through an issue right now where he, in order to reduce his end costs, he is planning to do his own feed, and
that is what he was talking about.
And he was bringing in, he has actually some equipment on the port to clear in order to produce his own feed, which will bring down his costs, and he will be a little more competitive on the local market and probably on the export market also. But again, a government really will to want better to increase the farming and the farmers' ability to produce somehow is skewed with wanting to keep friends and family in business and keep their business profitable. I would have to say it like that, right?
Aki, you know what I wonder and concerns me? How is it that governments, and I say this plural because I really don't like the blame the UNC for the PNM problems and blame the PNM for the UNC. I do believe in that at all, and I actually want to touch. I remember what I wanted to talk about in the last 10 minutes of the program, but what I wonder is that with everything that we're seeing, the money that's being spent, bad spent in my opinion, the lack of proper measures to diversify the economy, the lack of interest, real interest being paid to agriculture and implementing strategies such as those recommended by the IDB and students who would have done research and have it there just withering away in UWI. In light of all of this, how is it that governments, plural, are not seeing that? I think I just answered my own question in my head. I was going to ask, how is it that they're not seeing that what they're doing is impacting the country in a negative way? And I have to believe, because like you said earlier, we have brilliant people sitting down in that parliament with more degrees than a thermometer. So they should know.
They know.
The answer has to be that they don't care. What else could explain it? What else could explain the approach that we see?
You were talking earlier about consumption data, right? We have people, we have business people who have that consumption data for their benefit, right? So if I know the country needs, we're getting a call.
I'm going to take a call right now. Hello, good morning. You're live on Pep Talks.
Hi, good morning, folks.
Morning.
I'm following your program right now as we speak, and I agree with a lot of what you all have to say. This virus has become a world pandemic, which has been issued by the WHO, the World Health Organization. Also, I would see it fit that if you control the borders, you can control the influx of people.
One second, you need to listen. You need to turn off the device that you're watching the program on because we're getting some feedback.
Okay, sorry about that. Okay, well, I just stepped away from it. Alright, yeah, so some of your policies were explained to me by one of your guys, and it made a lot of sense. If you can secure the borders, you will realize that you can control the influx of people, goods, products, whatever, that may be coming from different regions affected by this virus. I will show that in the oil industry, there are many platforms surrounding the country. We have platforms from Trinmar, we have platforms from BPH, we have from BHP, we have platforms from BP as well. Should we put radars at each one, we could secure our borders and control human trafficking, the drug trade, and also put scanners where should be held accountable for what takes place in this country and what happens. Because this virus is nothing to be laughed at. It's nothing to be taken as a joke. It is very serious. But what I get to understand, looking at the different programs that follows this virus, we as a nation and the leaders of this nation will be who we want to call leaders. I think it is in our best interest that we put things in place to support the country and not pockets, not bank accounts. Because at the end of the day, should we all die, what does that bank account do for you? What does that bank account that you have obtained help the country, help the people, even help yourself? When it reaches to that state, no amount of money can save you. So, based on what I see your policy stand for, I think that maybe you guys should be the next option to run this country effectively, efficiently. And I'm a caller from Central, so that's just my contribution.
Thank you for that contribution, caller. It made lots of sense, more sense than we have heard from some of our government ministers in months, even years possibly. And seeing that you're a follower of the Progressive Empowerment Party, I hope when we do announce the launch of the new date of our launch that you will be there showing your support for us as we announce our general elections candidates.
Yes, definitely. I will be there to support you guys. Because like I said before, I mean, me being a very critical person, I evaluate everyone, not just on face value, but what you stand for. A lot of people should learn to do the same and follow with my ideas, where you don't vote race, you don't vote color, you don't vote for your friends. Because at the end of the day, none of that serves the purpose when it comes to proper governance in this country. We as a nation need to stand up for ourselves, stand up for what is right, and make the right choice. I keep saying, because your policies were explained to me by one of your guys, and it made a lot of sense to me. And if anybody who comes into government puts half of your policies in place, if we not to put all, we can be a better country. We can be a better country. Because I tell people, don't drink poison because you're thirsty. You have an option. People keep saying that this will only be a two-party country. No, so what about when elections came about and there was the PNM, UNC, and COP? So what, is that just two parties? So a lot of people need to open their minds and stop having a closed-minded thought that, you know what, there will only be two options. A lot of people say, I will choose the lesser of two evils. I try to tell them, think about what you just said. You were evils in all your statements. So what are you telling me? Me as a free thinker, as a progressive thinker, thanks to you, that I think it is our country's best interest to put people first. And any party who shows that, which I've seen you guys doing, because you guys doing a lot of work in different constituencies, I think you all are the best option. And a lot of people should look at it objectively from that point of view. Don't think that because, you guys especially seen about 3 to 4 years now, but give something new a chance. Give something a chance. How will you know how it works if you don't give it a try? How will you know where we go if we have no sense of direction? How will you know where we need to go if you don't look at the past? These are things we as countrymen need to think about. We as people of this nation need to think about. We are our brother's keeper. Why aren't we following those guidelines? Why aren't we making the right choice? Why aren't we the ones to stand up for our rights? I realize that government's past and present make you feel like if you have to be submissive to what they want to do, what they want to say, how they want to treat us. All these taxes that you pay, taxes upon taxes upon taxes. will be there when you all announce your candidacy.
Thank you very much, caller.
Thank you guys, and have a pleasant day.
Have a great day.
Thank you much.
Bye.
Yeah.
Can't add on to much to what he said there. I mean, he obviously knows about the party, and that just reminded me of what I wanted to speak about in the last 10 minutes, well now 3 minutes of the program. I actually saw an article on a UNC, it was Jillian John, I believe. She posted, the headlines was the UNC will make Laventille into Switzerland in 2 years if you vote them into office. And my first question, and I didn't ask it, but I saw many people say it in their own different ways. If this is what you can do in 2 years,
Why haven't you done it already?
why haven't you done it already?
Exactly.
Why haven't you done it already? UNC had its unit office. They had their various versions of the same party, same people. I mean, we're seeing some of the same faces coming up again for elections, or being mentioned as being front runners for the next election.
Why shouldn't give the plan one time? Okay, we're gonna make Laventille into Switzerland, and this is how.
And that is my absolute.
Yeah.
That is my comment, because the way that caller was able to tell me how we plan to secure the borders by repurposing oil badges. I mean, he said platforms, but repurposing oil barges and making a 360-degree radar with fast attack posts and interceptors and Coast Guard and immigration and customs. We are seeing how we plan to do it.
And with
people,
everything too.
With everything. And people need to understand this, You see, when people come at you for election time and tell you, change, we need change. We firstly want that exchange, because we've had you already. And two, change how? Tell us how you plan to do it.
When you stand up on a platform and say you're going to create 50,000 jobs, how the hell you creating the 50,000 jobs? That's what we want to know.
And you cry the long crocodile tears and you apologize for that Tobago. I'm sorry. I am so sorry. When they come at you with all the gimmicks that they will come at you with, ask them how. You see that question, how? This next election, it is going to be so important. It is going to separate the sheep from the wolves in sheep clothing. Because
water for all. Who they say that? Water for all by 2020? No.
No,
it wasn't 2000.
Wasn't it 1960 we was supposed to get water for all?
2000, I think it was Pandy.
Pandy water for all.
Water for all by something like that. Anyway.
If you know you're opening your taps this morning and you can't get water, question your leadership.
Imagine if we get in government, right? And for some reason we delaying on this water issue, right? And a normal person come up to us and say, hello, I thought you're gonna build retention ponds in the river. The pure fact that they could come and ask that is because we told them how we're gonna create and how we're gonna get water for all.
Exactly.
You understand? And so they could question us, hey, you was gonna do this. But with the other governments though, water for all, they don't know where to start to ask questions.
They don't.
Because nobody's saying how.
It is not enough to hear something. You have to know how it's going to happen.
Exactly.
And it's time we start putting our leaders, or the people who are saying that they want to lead us, it's time we start putting them on the spot and asking them the real questions, because we have for too many years taken them at their word, taken them at face value, and they have not delivered on their promises. It's 8:01. It is time to wrap up. We had a very informative show today, and on that note of leadership and elections and people coming to get your vote and telling you and selling you promises, I want to end on this quote. And this will differentiate, like I say, the sheep from the wolves in sheep clothing. A leader is one who knows the way, goes the way, and shows the way. If the people trying to get your vote can't tell you the way, they're not worth it. Thank you very much for tuning in to Pep Talks in the Morning. I will see you next week, Tuesday.
Peace out, Trinidad.
Peace out. Trinidad and Tobago is in a crisis. For far too long, our people have been abused and silenced by our politicians and the business elite.
Just look around you. People are losing their jobs. Crime is at an all-time high. Our justice, education, and health systems have failed.
We all know the truth behind all that is wrong in our country. Corruption is destroying us. Billions of our dollars are being looted by a small group of business people that use our politicians to divide and distract us,
so they can take what they want, leaving us with no hope for a better country.
All of this is because we've never had leaders who seek the interests of the citizenry as their first priority.
I am here because I'm not taking it anymore.
I am here because I am not taking it anymore.
I am fed up of politics as it is in Trinidad and Tobago.
It is time we elect leaders with the backbone and the love of our people to go after the corrupt, evil elements in our country, hell-bent on serving their own pockets while we suffer.
And it is time that we as a nation take a collective stand against wrongdoing.
So we are making a plea to the nation to rally behind us.
Because our freedom of speech is being threatened by those who don't want us speaking out on these issues.
A man that I greatly respect is one of those leaders fighting for a better country. His name is Philip Edward Alexander, and he has bravely challenged the people and institutions that are destroying our nation.
To date, he has been threatened with 5 lawsuits for having the courage to ask state agency UDCOT on why the renovations of the President's house cost $89 million.
When experts in the field have estimated that that job should have never crossed 20 million.
Where did the rest of our money go? We refuse to stand by and allow any agency to use our courts to try and silence and punish Philip or any other citizen of our country for trying to seek the truth.
If you're fed up of corruption and want to be a part of real change, support Philip and the Progressive Empowerment Party in this fight.
This fight is not for him or us to bear alone.
It is a fight for you, our loved ones, and our friends.
It is a fight for the future of our country.
You can help by making a contribution to Philip's legal fees and help him and PEP expose the truth and shine light over the darkness of corruption.
Go to our website at peptt.com, click on donate, and see all the ways you can pitch in.
There is hope. Our country can be saved, but we all need to stand together. My name is Felicia Holder, Chairman of the Progressive Empowerment Party, and I support Philip Edward Alexander and the PEP.
I support Philip Edward Alexander and the PEP.
I support Philip Edward Alexander and the PEP.
I support.
I support.
I support.
I support.
I support.
I support.
I support. I support.
I support.
I support.
I support.
I support Philip Edward Alexander and the PEP.